Hello, and welcome to a angry, frustrating rant on a game that we should not have lost 1-0, but did lose 1-0. I'm joined by the ever prestigious AFC James, and that pause was for the lump in his throat as he tries to get his words out for those who don't know. But yeah, how are you, James? It's been a long time coming. I know we've been friends for a while now, so it's nice to actually get you on here. So I hope you're well, and hopefully you can get your words out this time.
Yeah, no, I've been swallowing too many golf balls. It's difficult to get my words out sometimes, you know.
Uh,
Hey, Lee Gunner speaks the truth. Um, I'm good, and also I wasn't being rude during your introduction. I'm telling people on Twitter to tune in and join
yes,
the live
I will be
stream.
doing the same right now. So
And also, you probably saw me stick my hand up, and it looked very strange. But that's because this new camera that I was sent follows me around the room, and I don't need it to. So I will be turning off that setting. But for now, to turn it on and off, I need to put my palm up against the screen. Um,
lovely.
how are you, Corin?
I'm good, mate. I'm calmer, put it that way. Um,
Massively.
we were there's a bunch of us, me, RM, who has been on the show a couple of times. A1, and Raf as well. A couple of us went to go watch the game at the pub in Finsbury, and my lord, it was that was a fun watch. I'll tell you what. Leaving the pub after that was everyone was just dejected and heads were flying. Let's put it that way. So yeah, we did need to talk about it, and I'm glad to have you with us to talk about it. But uh, how are you feeling? Genuinely, when you came out of that game, what were the emotions like?
Well, I don't know if you saw, but I'd accidentally, and also partly because I was traveling with my friends, so I wasn't able to kind of inconvenience them. But I had a flight. I was on a flight basically the exact time that the game was going on, so I didn't
You did
see it
say,
live. Um, and I landed and didn't. I asked my friends. I said, "Please don't show me the score. I want to watch it on highlights." So I said I was going to watch the extended highlights after the game. I couldn't because it was taking ages to upload, and then he told me Sky highlights were up, and I was like, right, okay. I wanted to message my girlfriend, so I was like, okay, forget it. I'll just watch the Sky highlights, but set it
mm-hmm.
up so I don't see, and then I'll watch it on there. And obviously, seeing all of this go on and not knowing the score, but knowing that everyone had already reacted to it, I was like, what the fuck's going to happen? Is this ending 0-0? Is this a goal? Um, and watching it all unfold, I was just baffled. And also at this point, I didn't know what the general consensus was. So I'd
Mm.
yet to see Arteta's reaction, and I was yet to see the absolute meltdown on Twitter. So it's weird because from that perspective, I don't think I could naturally get as emotionally drawn in as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's Arsenal. I can't help myself. Um, but it's weird to watch a game back as the first time and kind of view it, even though it was disgraceful. I just feel like if I watched it live at the time, my head would have been on Mars, on Pluto. I think it would have been ridiculous. But watching it back, I was just confused and baffled. I just see Bruno clapping the back of Havertz's head, and
Yeah,
I'm just
Jorginho
thinking,
said, yeah.
Jorginho's. I'm just thinking, what's going on? Like, is this football? Like, is he going to get sent off? Because I saw, did VAR check that?
No, I mean, I think they did. Actually, I think they did actually, but they did. They said what they said is that he wasn't using his elbow as a weapon. I think that was the
Yeah,
excuse.
yeah, but I don't think, like, for example, on the highlights when it shows the replays of VAR, I don't think that happened. I think they
Mm.
just showed a replay, and I thought, hang on a minute, he's clocked him. Surely
Yeah,
this is going to go to VAR. Surely something's going to happen here. And then nothing happened. I went,
nothing happened.
whoa, what's going on here? And
Because the
all of
thing is,
this,
right, the ball is not on the. He's not on the ball, is he? The ball is
no.
away from him, and Bruno literally sees him, gets up, and elbows him. So
And the
it's just
thing
like,
is, to me, it's like, for example, the Havertz one, I think he could have been sent off for that genuinely. I think it would have been a harsh sending off because he does miss him in the first place. But it's the term they use in refereeing is excessive force. And I think
mm,
Havertz has shown excessive force, and he's very, very lucky that he didn't basically snap Longstaff's leg. Uh, but when it comes to the Bruno thing, the Havertz, you can say, oh, maybe he tried to tackle him and missed, and he was just a little bit late in the challenge. Bruno wasn't late. Bruno just hit
No.
out at him. There's no accidental nature to that. It's a deliberate act to elbow him in the back of the head. So it's a very easy red card to give. The same way if Granit Xhaka holds Westwood's neck, the same way if Rodri grabs someone in the throat.
Yeah.
As soon as you do something that's completely out of the game's control, out of action in the game, you're asking to be sent off. And I don't think there would have been any excuse from Bruno if he got sent off. But for whatever reason, probably because the referee wants to go, oh, let's not ruin the game, they let it stand. And that's crazy to me, I think.
I mean, for me, I just think it was more of a case where VAR is built to back the on-field referees, right? I think that is the main issue with VAR in general. It's not about getting the right decision; it's about backing the referee's first decision. And that's the main problem. And I said this on Twitter, like people kept saying, "Oh, well, if you're upset about Bruno, why aren't you upset about Havertz?" Mate, I've said Havertz could have been a red as well, but the fact is Bruno is out and out a red. But that's beside the point. The point is you're agreeing that the refereeing is poor, but yet the whole issue is not about getting the VAR right. It's about trying to obfuscate wrong decisions by pointing out other wrong decisions. Surely the standard should be getting the refereeing standard higher, not the other way around. So,
and why is Arteta getting criticised? I understand perhaps the manner he went about it has rubbed people up the wrong way, but ultimately, the main reason why Arteta has been, or Arsenal in general, have been criticised for making that statement, because I will say that statement was very eloquent. There was no bitterness in that statement. They were backing the manager, what the manager said, but they also said, we want to work with the referees to ensure that Premier League is officiated at the same standard as the league itself is held to, because it is the greatest league in the world, but the refereeing isn't and is nowhere near the level of the Champions League. We see it time and time again. Champions League, and there's no excuse to say, oh, there's more games in a Premier League season. The World Cup and the Champions League, where the refereeing is paramount and they have to hold themselves to these high decisions, is so much better. Everything is so much cleaner. The semi-automated offsides is a much, much better way of doing it. And I don't understand why you then come to the Premier League and we refuse to even accept semi-automated offsides. So I appreciate that Arsenal went about it in quite a bullish way in the first place, because Arteta was pissed, and I don't blame him for that. I would have been too. But the fact that people have turned around and gone, how dare you complain about it? What's the problem with that? Why should we not stand up and ask for better standards of refereeing?
Sure. I mean, the other thing is, right, and this is something I see with football culture in general. Look, the amount of fans, the amount of people that have accused Arsenal of being soft, of being having this immature state of mind, soft underbelly, too young, everything not in the right place. And you see the anger, you see the frustration from Arteta, and you look at guys in the past that held to a different kind of camp. You look at Mourinho after the Carling Cup. You see how he was trying to promote this us versus them mentality. But when it comes to Arsenal, it's all over a case of, oh no, this and that, and this and that, this is that. Oh, this is wrong, that is wrong. It's just like, all right, we get it. You don't like us. It's not a problem. I don't particularly like you either. So let's just get on with it, get on with the game and see what happens. Because look, I will, to the end of my days, try to talk about the referees as little as possible. I don't really want to talk about referees. Even this 10 minutes has been annoying. Like, I don't want to talk about referees. This is just stupid. But when you have situations where, and we haven't even mentioned the goal. Like the goal, there are 4 different offences, not 3, 4 different offences that have just been chalked off. And we've seen in the past, and this is the thing, when I say that phrase, we've seen it in the past, that says it all. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. If it's wrong, but you've actually said, okay, this is what we're doing, this is how we adjudicate the game, fine. At least if you're wrong and there's some kind of consistency across the barrier, then fine. But when it comes to a case where you're saying, okay, we're in the middle of a top 4 race, Brighton have come to the Emirates, and Gabriel Martinelli is may be standing offside, may not be standing offside. and that is chalked off, even though it was given on field. That goal's chalked off because we don't know that there's clarity. But yes, that last weekend you just said there's not clarity, so we're sticking with the on-field referee. Have you changed your mind? Has the policy changed? I want to know what has changed between those 2 years to understand where the process has changed, that we've gone from, okay, we don't know this decision, so we're not going to give the goal, to the on-field referee is right, we're not going to change. I just need to
Yeah.
know what the clarity is.
That's mental to me because I thought when someone first pointed it out, I thought that the Martinelli goal was stuck with the on-field referee's decision, but it didn't.
Hmm.
They changed it because they couldn't prove that he's onside, which is mental to look back at because it's innocent until proven guilty. And you look at these instances like the Brentford one, and you say on a one-off, you'd say, "Oh, it's really shit. It keeps happening to Arsenal." But no, if you look at it, all of a sudden, why? And I'm not claiming some big conspiracy. I'm just saying the fact that this is happening to the same team over and over again is a huge problem. And the fact that Arteta has now faced it over numerous years is unfair on him because he's coaching games in a certain way. And he said it himself, he'd love to be able to coach a game where we deserve to win 3-0. But unfortunately, when you go away to St. James's Park, that's not going to happen. The
Hmm.
same way in the City game, we coached what? A 0-0.
Yeah, a 0-0. There we go, James. He'll be back soon, I'm assuming. But I assume he's going to say we coached 0-0 and squeaked one back. But yeah, I think the main thing is that we take away from this whole situation is quite clear. We need consistency, we need clarity, and that's why I don't mind if they're going to have some massive hearing with Arteta and Arsenal, with the FA. Have the hearing, talk it out, understand where both sides are coming from, and then come to a conclusion of what you want to do going forward. Because right now, this isn't right. It's not right. But yeah, I just think that with the amount of decisions there was no lines drawn for the offside. Why was there no lines? If someone could clarify why there was no lines, it'll be back soon. If someone can clarify why there's no lines, I'd be more than happy to discuss it. The same thing goes for whether there'd be a foul on Joe Linton on Gabriel. If that's not a foul, why isn't it not a foul? Both hands are on the back of his back. He's clearly trying to push him. It's not like Gabriel dives. Both feet are on the floor when Gabriel is pushed. So I want to know why that is the case. And then lastly, when it comes to what was the other thing? There was the handball. Sorry, it comes off his hand because he's not the the goal scorer. It's not the one that you look at. So it's a bit interesting to see why that's not given and how that's given. But yeah, I think he's back now. There we go. There we go. Ah, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
I've had to move downstairs.
All right. So yeah, the goal itself, I was just saying that there's too many offences to even think about where and why that was given. There was one offence and then it was like it's a 50-50, maybe I can see it. But for example, going out of play, then I can see because it's kind of it looks like it's out of play, but with the Japan goal in the World Cup, you can see that maybe a little bit of the ball's left in. So I can see maybe that not being given, but with both hands on the back, I don't understand.
What I also want to say is part of the problem is we're talking about the biggest league in the world, and two parts of that goal, two different parts. It's not like the ball's gone out of play twice. We're talking about the ball going out of play and an offside, and we're not able to see what's happened.
Mm.
In a world where we have this technology, why are we not able to get a camera angle that is suitable for that? Why do we not have the technology on the lines that can see? So I'd like
Forget
to
the
think,
cameras. Get a chip in the ball. They get a
yeah,
chip
that's
in the
what I mean.
ball.
That's what I mean. So
Right?
get a chip in the ball to see.
If
Yeah,
it goes out or
you'd be able
not.
to tell if it goes backwards as well for the offside. No, you could. Yeah, exactly. So a chip in the ball would solve both problems.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they're too stubborn. And this is why when Arsenal are asking for better technology and better referees, as a referee myself, I say this, I'm a shit ref. I'm an amateur ref. But as a referee myself, I can forgive referees for getting things wrong. It's fucking hard to referee a
Yes.
game. Excuse my language. It's hard. But why are they making it harder for themselves by not introducing semi-automated technology? Why are they making it harder for themselves by backing their mates wrongly and then putting themselves in this shit? Because as we saw, what was it in the Liverpool game, when they messed up, all he had to do was go, "Hey, look, we've completely messed up. Let's
Mm.
go back and let's rectify it." But what he did is he backed his mate and he went, "Oh, I don't want to embarrass Jim. I don't want to embarrass Jim in the middle." And then all of a sudden, it's a shitstorm. So, as I say, the best league in the world, we need to hold it to the highest standard. And the two parts of the decision that they've gone, "Oh, we can't tell," is disgraceful. And the
No.
one that they could tell, which is two arms in the back, should take one replay and go, "You know what? He's climbed on him Peter Crouch-esque," and we don't do that
Yeah.
nowadays.
It's mad. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the games. I wanted to make sure to get the refs out of the way because everyone's gonna be asking about it. But in terms of the game itself, I really like that game of football. I don't know if you've watched the full 90 or not, but I actually really enjoyed the actual game of football. I kept saying to Nick actually was if I was a neutral, I love this game. It was a proper physical game of football. Both sides really wanted it. Both defenses really decided to go full out and really defend their lines. But from an Arsenal point of view, where there was a lot of things that weren't good enough. And I'm going to reiterate this. I don't think the amount of chances we create is not acceptable. To have only one shot on target the entire game, despite having something like 70 odd final third entries, it's just not good enough. You can't be just kind of popping around the box, and not doing something with the ball. You've got to actually put the ball in the back of the
But
net. So
is that not a final third conversion thing? Because we had 14 shots. We had
yes,
14 shots and 5 inside the box.
Mhm.
Effectively, and if you don't include the 2 that happened basically in the build up to the goal, we matched
Mhm.
them, if not did better than them, which against a compact Newcastle team, the problem is, barring that goal, which we both agree was wrongly allowed, we were marginally the better team, and the final outcome, we didn't deserve to score. The final outcome is a draw, a 0-0 draw.
Mm.
Going into that game, would you have taken a 0-0 draw at St James's Park? Because I
Yeah,
would.
probably. Yeah,
Exactly.
probably.
So, yes, I do agree it's shit, but had it have been a 1-1 where both team created 20
Yeah,
chances, or a 0-0 where we limit them to about 0.25 XG, which is ridiculous, um, it doesn't really make a difference. We didn't do enough to win, and I'm sure Arteta would have loved to, but I think overall, one of the reasons why Arteta is so pissed is because I think we played a good game.
we
That
did play a good game.
I agree we were stiff in the final third, and I agree we didn't convert enough final third entries into actual strong out actions. I think with Jesus and Erdegaard, that would have been more likely to happen. But the way we nullified them was really impressive, I thought. And I
Mm.
think because I watched it after the game and with slightly, I had the emotion taken out of it. I can kind of see that it was a boring game ultimately, aside from the physical aspect and that. But it was a very, very, I think, well executed plan that got scuffed because more than just a referee, I didn't like how we defended that goal either. I didn't like what Raya did, and I really didn't
No,
like what Ben White did
me
to
neither. Just turned off.
let Joe Will. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, I, I completely hear that. The only thing is, and it's the same thing that's been a recurring theme throughout the entire season for me, anyway. Um, look, with Jorginho and Rice in the middle of the pitch, you have. I mean, let me get it up. I have a trying to that diagram over somewhere. We talked about we talked about it as well. I think yesterday or the day before. Um, look, the problem is when you have the inability for your eights to fill the channels and have too much evacuation in both channels, you're not going to create the amount of chances because you don't have people to combine with or rotate with in the final third. And that was the problem. And it's not about just having. I think defensively we were amazing. I think that was one of the best defensive performances. So we are probably, and I will reiterate this, the best out of possession team in world football today. I'm not going to like second guess that. That is something we do very, very well. The problem is when you get to the point where you're trying to get the ball through the lines into the middle of the pitch and into the place where you're actually going to create chances. That's the issue. So, I mean, what did you think? I mean, when you looked back on it, did you see that there was periods where literally there was just gaps in the middle of the pitch because we weren't allowing our eights to get forward because we were trying to build up too much because we couldn't really get the ball out of the middle of the pitch? Or did you see something different?
I think I don't love the Jorginho and Rice thing. I understand that it's solid and it works, but I don't think Arteta really wants to do it. And just Rice next to Martinelli, you just don't get the same fluidity as having someone who's a little bit more dynamic in that position. I don't know. I think also the angle bias when Xhaka was there, him being a left footer allowed him to curve that ball inwards and have it come on to Martinelli, whereas Rice being right footed, it always is tending towards his back foot. And especially when you got Tomiyasu behind, that left side is so nullified. And then on the right hand side, you had Saka, who had a very poor game. You have Nketiah, who, again, I hate to criticize him because I don't blame the player. I just think in these situations, he doesn't have the facilities. He's not able to come to these grounds and offer anything. And it's a horrible task for any player to do, but he just gets eaten alive. In those positions, you either need a player like Jesus, who has the technical ability to drop deep and not engage with the centre-backs, or you need a player who's really good at engaging with the centre-backs, for example, like an Osimhen, who can run in behind, who can physically challenge them. But Nketiah is a little bit of each, neither here nor there. And I suppose when it came to our attackers, we had nothing. And Havertz, as effectively the primary creator that game, he was fine. But again, we're talking that's still performance that people would probably criticize Ødegaard for in attack. In defense, he was fine. But if Ødegaard basically was that passive on the ball and wasn't trying to break the line so much or cross it into the box, I think he'd have been slandered.
I mean, I wanted to talk about because I'll bring it up now. There's if you look at how it looks on the pitch, the amount of times we'd see the ball with Jorginho and basically, let me get the ball here. Let me get the ball.
Sorry to interrupt. I feel Jorginho also sometimes moves build up too slowly. He's quite safe in build up.
Very safe.
I think Alex spoke about this on a video. We don't take enough risks at the moment. If we consider ourselves the best off the ball team in Europe, I think one of the reasons is because Jorginho is scared that he will be caught in transition. But Rice is willing to take more risks because if he's out of position, he can more quickly get back into position. But because of this, we're slow in build-up and Newcastle are able to get compact in the centre of the pitch. The guy who's not playing Partey was much, much better at getting the ball, turning, and being able to play
whilst the ball through the lines. Yeah.
Absolutely, which is a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, look, the main thing I have here is I just think that with the amount of space we have between in this left-sided space, the theory is Rice pulls wide and Tomiyasu fills the lane, but Tomiyasu's inverting, and we're looking at Rice, and Rice is trying to basically carry the ball from here to into this space, but he's kind of basically we've on the ball to Jorginho. Jorginho gets double teamed. They basically decide to leave this space open because they don't believe they'll get it into Havertz. And even when we did get into Havertz, we weren't making the correct runs inside to get the ball in here. And Ben as well wasn't overlapping. So if Ben was on the overlap a bit more, you get Saka inside and basically move everyone across, and then you have the correct spacing. But without Ben making this overlap, because he wasn't making it that much, I think he was pinned by their defenders as well. They were just happy to just let us have the ball in these areas and just leave these areas out free. And with those areas free, we don't have so say Kai drops into here, that's great, but there's no running ahead of him. If there was Nketiah running ahead of him, or Saka running into this space, we would have been fine. Like
But I also
genuinely.
think attacking rotations aren't helping with that, because we've seen against Sheffield United, it is only Sheffield United, but Saka was doing a lot of rotating into that space and causing a lot of
Yes.
problems from the half space.
Saka would be coming from into
But
here, and we'd see
and
Havertz out wide.
who played in right attacking mid that game?
It was Havertz.
Was it Havertz?
It
Okay,
was
but for
Havertz.
whatever reason, this game I didn't see as much of that. And
Let me check. I'm pretty sure it was Havertz.
yeah, I think
But
you're
yeah,
right. I think it was Havertz, and then Smith Rowe left centre mid, I believe.
yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a case of potentially because of Jorginho behind, because it was Rice behind last time, no?
Yeah, it was last time it was Rice, and then this time it was this time today. Well, this game it was Jorginho, obviously with Havertz and Rice, but we haven't. When was the last time we actually saw Rice as a six? It's been a while now. So
Wait, who was
that's
the 6 against Sheffield United? Sorry.
Sheffield United. The six was no, it was Rice. You're right. No, it was
So,
Rice.
so and I
Yeah.
think that's why we were more inclined to make those rotations, because we had the security of Rice behind. I think Havertz and Saka switched over less because had we lost the ball, you're leaving Jorginho exposed. But again, what is the solution to that? We can't play away against Newcastle with Havertz and Vieira. Maybe
No.
If Erdegaard was fit, it would have been a different story. But Havertz and Vieira would have just been eaten alive that game. So it's frustrating because I really like Vieira, but I struggle to cope with a player who's just not able to be in certain situations. And it's not just due to his size. I appreciate that he's smaller and he's less physical, but certain players of that size, Bernardo Silva, for example, if you're able to be press resistant, you're able to. And Gundogan, for example, Gundogan's not a big player, but he's able to find the pockets and he's able to cope in these situations because of the timings. But Vieira just isn't there. And
I think he's
as
looked
I
better this
say,
season, to be honest. But like,
he,
it's getting there. I think that with him, it's a case of that. I feel like personally, anyway, I feel like we built this squad really weirdly. We have three centre mids that are all attacking midfielders that all prefer being on the right. It's very odd.
maybe
It's
four
very,
no even.
yeah, Emil as well. So like, it's Havertz, Odegaard, Vieira, and Smith Rowe. Like, genuinely, it's a bit mad. So I've I just think that there's a lot to do in terms of getting the ball through the middle of the pitch, and that's something we've struggled with this season. Whereas before, we were one of the most direct teams in terms of getting it through the middle in the league last season, and that's the massive change. And I think with as you mentioned, Thomas's ability to pump the balls through the lines, his ability to do that allowed us to be much more central.
And Jesus,
And Jesus,
100%. I strongly believe that Trossard should be playing centre forward a little bit more than he is, because against Sheffield United, it's fine. You don't really need that central presence. We had Rice centre, so we can afford Saka and Smith Rowe to come inside. But against the teams where we have Jorginho, we need someone to operate in that space, because Havertz wasn't, and Rice definitely won't. Rice isn't going to find himself in the zone 14 just behind the striker. So having Trossard, who's able to drop deep, allow Martinelli to tuck in, someone takes Martinelli's spot, just gives us so many more attacking rotations. And by doing so, you can allow Martinelli to get in central positions, where in a game like that, I think he'd have caused some problems.
He's our best finisher. You want him in the middle of the park, a lot closer to goal. So, no, I completely agree. And the other thing is, and this is what's so frustrating, is that when you look at how we build up through the pitch, it's not as if we're making mistakes. It's not like we're doing things wrong. It's just we're not being aggressive enough. And I can forgive if you're obviously there's a balance, but if you're overly aggressive and you can be a bit more risky, I don't mind that. That's the whole point of your of the sorry, your hands just turned completely throwing me off.
The thing was moving, I had to stop it.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, literally threw me all the way. What I was saying is, if we could be a bit more risky through the middle of the pitch, and you make a mistake, we have the ability to regain the ball. but we're
Yep.
not being risky at all.
We have the best transition control in Europe. We have Saliba, Gabriel, and Rice. The problem is, as I say, Jorginho's been playing as a 6, which massively impacts that. And but again, we don't really have a solution to that at the moment, which is worrying, but also semi-understandable because of how many injuries we've had. Because Partey, Ødegaard, these players getting injured effectively is 2 of our starting 3 midfielders. But
We've had all 3 of the players that are involved in our central outfits are injured. Partey, Ødegaard, and Timber. All 3 of them are injured. And people wonder why we can't access the middle of the pitch. Literally, the whole second phase midfield role of our squad is injured.
And I think the frustrating thing is Arteta signed Havertz with Timber in mind.
Yes.
And now that Timber's gone basically for a year, that's just such an unprecedented thing. And I guess it comes down to a little bit of one of Arteta's weaknesses. Also, his biggest strength is that when it comes to theory, Arteta can envision something, and when it works, it's so good. And we've seen that in the past, that when all the chips are right, everything is perfect. But then when we lose one part of that cog, all of a sudden everything starts falling down because Havertz relies on Havertz relies on having Rice in the 6 and also relies on having Timber. And if you can provide him that platform, I believe we will start to see Havertz at his best. But until then, he's now being asked to do things he can't do, and then all of a sudden looks like a terrible signing for a 60 million player.
I mean, the other thing is I feel like both of our midfield signings. I mean, Rice obviously has been one of the signings of the summer, but still at this level, we're still capping him. Like, he's playing at this level and he's being capped. I still think people don't understand that and how crazy that is. He's definitely been one of the signings of the summer, and yet we're literally playing him out of position. You saw him at 85 minutes. He gassed. He just didn't have. I've never seen him gas like that. He legit was just like hunched over. I've not seen him like that. That's not something I see from Declan Rice. And I've watched Declan Rice a long, long time, as people on the channel know. So it's just like, I feel like we're looking at things in terms of what could be now, because the solutions we have in the squad can work. We can put Ødegaard at left centre midfield. We can try, I don't know, Vieira or someone else there and have Havertz be a bit more advanced. We could put Rice a bit more deeper. We can do all sorts of things. We can play a 4-2-4 with 2 strikers in Havertz and Eddie and try to have them play off each other, with Havertz dropping back into more of an 8 role at the end. We can do a lot of things. But the question is now, is we need to do the main thing of, Dortmund have just scored. They've just I know, very good. The main thing is can we secure the middle of the pitch? Can we score more goals? Can we create more chances? And I think if we're going to do that, we need to stop thinking about moving everything into the final third and think about how we're actually progressing the ball through the thirds. I think that's the main theme of today's review, I think, because without that, you can't really look into what things are happening up the pitch. I mean, Eddie didn't have a great game. Of course he didn't. Same with, I mean, even Havertz, probably one of his better games for us. I don't think it was a great game either. But the thing is, when you look at it in terms of why they aren't playing well, it's not everything is their fault. There's no one in positions to help them out. You're looking at players that are low on confidence, and you're expecting, I mean, Eddie just scored a hat-trick, so he shouldn't really be low on confidence. But you're looking at Havertz, someone that's definitely low on confidence. And then you're saying, okay, we're going to ask you to do stuff that you've never done before, as well as do the stuff that we will expect from you, as well as be a box crasher. It's all a bit of a mess. And then another thing that annoyed me, and this is another thing I was going to ask you, because we are, I think, the last 10 minutes of this. The last bit where we were trying to get the ball into the net, that after we conceded, did you find the way we were going about things weird? Like, I thought it was very strange. I wanted to know what you thought, and I'll give how I thought about it in the end.
I don't know. I just think, especially without Ødegaard, we're a little bit lost. And
we looked very lost.
Yeah. And I also think Newcastle have a resilient block. So it's not as if let's not pretend it was Chelsea against Spurs yesterday, where you've
Mm,
just got idiots on the pitch who don't know how to play a through ball into masses and masses of space. I think they were looking at each other, waiting for someone to take some responsibility. And Vieira didn't have his best game. The players that came on, who I think Arteta was looking to bring on at 0-0 when Newcastle would have been a little bit more open, the players that came on just didn't offer enough. And we just kind of petered out in the end. And I don't know, how many chances did we create after?
I'm not sure, you know.
I think we had like 1 or 2 shots,
Yeah, something like that.
which is pathetic.
It is pretty pathetic. And you know what I found? And this is what I was going to ask you. What I found very weird is we bought Trossard on, right? We bought and we moved Havertz over to the left. So we had Saka on one side, and we had Vieira on that same side, who you'd think, in theory, would be much more creative players, right? You'd think they'd be able to get the crosses in. And on the other side, you had Havertz and you had Trossard. Your finishers. Yeah, it was the left side that was creating, and it was the right side not crashing into the box to not finish. There were times where Havertz would do a cross across the box, and there would be no one there. Havertz and Trossard rotating on the left side to try and get in behind the left flank, and no one coming across the box.
I also think that Arteta needs to be a little bit more willing to bring off Saka if he's not playing well.
Oh no, 100%.
I understand that your best players can create a moment of magic out of nothing, but Jurgen Klopp would take off Salah if Salah wasn't performing. So I don't think we need to see Saka as this complete infallible player who should never be taken off the pitch. If he's having a bad game, don't need to call it an injury or not. He's having a bad game. It can happen. Ødegaard was having a bad patch of form. We thought he was rested the next game. He's injured. But players shouldn't have to be played into the ground until basically, and then played in and out of form. If someone take him out of the limelight, give him a game off. I feel like the Sheffield United game would have been a nice game to rest him. I feel like this Burnley game could also be a nice game to rest him, but I think we have the international break after that anyway.
I think we have Brentford as well, don't we? Or is it straight after the Burnley game?
Do we?
I'm not sure. I remember. I think someone tell us. I'm sure I'll remember. But I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right. I don't think it's as soon as that. But regardless, I don't think he doesn't need to be playing every game. We've spoken about this before. But yeah, he ended poorly and had a pretty poor game overall, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I think this is the thing. When you set up players in a way that, or the players themselves set them up in a way that they're probably going to fail, it's kind of evident to see how they were having a bad game. If you look at how Havertz and why are your best finishers creating the chances for you?
Also, I just checked and I forgot that Tommy ended the game right back, and
that overlap is not happening.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but it's one of his worst positions for me. If not,
it's hilarious. It is.
I'd almost sooner put him in defensive mid than stick him there for whatever reason. The angles, he just looks so stiff on the right. I guess if we're having him purely as a build-up centre back, it would work. But in situations like that, when you need someone to overlap,
like genuinely, I would rather him at right centre back and put Saliba at right back, because Saliba's played right back for Marseille and he's done it well. So, like, genuinely, that's how bad it got.
I mean, stick fucking Cedric on. Cedric was on the bench in situations like that. I know, that's really dire straits, but
we're in the trenches.
We were losing as well. It wasn't. Yeah. It's not like we were drawing and chasing a goal, and we need some security. We should have thrown the kitchen sink at it, and we just kind of petered out.
Yeah, we completely did. And the other thing is as we were mentioning before, there's no one filling that last lane, and without that, you're not having runs into the box because Saka's out wide, and Vieira's not going to be a bot. If he's going to do anything, he's going to hover around that sort of zone 14D area and try to look for a cutback or try and strike one. He's not going to be someone that's going to be crashing the box, crashing the 6-yard box. And there were multiple times where we literally had no one in the box.
Also, just on the Cedric topic, that shows our need. And I think I don't know if you saw this, that Turkish guy we're linked for today. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. But we need that profile of right back, because Zinchenko he obviously inverts, but he also has that ability that if we need someone wide left, he can do that. Whereas White and Tomiyasu don't really have that wide right overlap. And I think Saka is more in need of that than Martinelli. If Martinelli's in that furthest left lane, he's fine because there's plenty of space for people inside, and he's more willing to be a touchline winger. Whereas Saka, I feel, is more wasted there. We need him in that half space, so get someone on the outside. And if White's done, then bring on a Livramento, which would have been really nice. But yeah, we don't have
It
that.
was pain watching Livramento, and like genuinely, it's and I completely agree. And literally, I quoted it saying it's just a fallback. I don't really care if it was.
Yeah.
I've never seen the bloke. I don't know about the bloke. Everyone's going. Arm's already quoted it saying saying we're not seeing any headers from him, and I'm just like, hey, I'm sure you've watched him, Arm. But yeah, it's just funny to watch. I think the inability for us to have someone getting on and creating crosses from the byline is something that I've been bemoaning for 2 odd years now. Ben's a lovely right back. I think that he's done very well as a right back, and his crossing has improved. It's just that this season, I don't think we've seen it enough from him. We've not seen him really go beyond Saka, and we've seen, and part of that is because Kai has been overlapping from the right centre mid role. He's doing that sort of Henderson run where Salah would come inside and Henderson would go outside. So he's not been as active needed to do it. But when you have that, that's all well and good. But then again, it's not like you've got Henderson. That's Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz needs to be in the box. He can't be out wide. You need him in the box to really crash the box. So I understand the theory behind it, but I don't really want him there unless you're creating from the left side and you can make sort of like a run from the byline into the far post, and you can have like a tap into sort of scenario there. It's a bit janky for me. I think that there's got to be some kind of like pace down that side, because without that, we're just sort of relying on Saka to just do everything. He just give him the ball and just do everything.
And when he and when he doesn't, people blame him and say, "Oh, Saka's had a shit game."
Yeah,
he doesn't. He's not being given a platform to build on.
No, it's not at all. Like genuinely, I feel like we've done him like as good as he is. I still feel like we're the same with Rice. I feel like we are doing both of them a disservice. Like genuinely, having Rice having to play this box to box role, when he's not someone that's going to be crashing the box, as you mentioned, the zone 14 crash or a left side of the box crash. He's not a box crasher, as well as doing all the defensive dirty work. And the same with Saka, we're asking him to be a touchline winger as well as an inside player who's able to hit the ball on his strong foot into the corner, or create a cross, or produce some kind of magic, take on a couple of players. Like, we're asking both these guys to do the roles of 2 players, when if you're looking at it genuinely, we could genuinely make their lives easier and get the best out of them, and we're just not doing that right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
Yeah, but also people that are like saying anything negative. I know there's a lot of it online, which is just people looking for attention. But those who genuinely are having any concerns or reservations about Arteta, just shut up. Like we've been through these.
No, let them talk. I love the quote tweets after. The quote tweets after are great. Like genuinely, I'm all for people having their opinion. Have your opinion. You don't like Arteta, you don't like Arsenal.
And you know what's funny is that it's some people that hated Arteta the whole time and then went, "Oh, okay, we're decent. First moment of, "Oh, go on, we're shit. We've lost one Premier League game this season against Newcastle away. It's not an easy fixture. We're fine. Don't worry about it."
And the thing is, right, and then they'll go, "Oh, but you're not concerned about the performance. We spent the last 35 minutes talking about the performance." But but you're not falling off the wagon. That means you must be okay with the performances. Everything is fine. No,
with 3 points off top after 11 games. That's one game. That's one game literally. And City have some nasty fixtures coming up too.
I'm not. The thing is, we've been saying it, if you've watched the show for a while, we've been saying it for a while. I've been saying it for a while anyway. I don't give a shit as long as we're in with a shout with 2 or 3 games left. 2 or 3 games left. If we're in with a shout, we've had a good season.
Yep.
I like if anything less than that, if we've fallen away 10 games to go, or if we completely catapult and just end up in a top 4 race, that's a failure. 3 games to go, nuts on the line. That's where, you know, if you get to that point, then that's just 3 games of football. Anything can happen.
Yep.
But get to that point, that's 35 games of football that you have shown that you are a top team. So,
And we will grow into this season. We will grow. That's what I'm saying.
I hope so.
So
I hope so. I think so. But I this is the thing. I feel like I just don't want this to be sort of like a narrative thing where everything just goes, okay, oh no, 100%. Don't worry about it. We'll just kick it down like
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And even the players might go, oh, City were fine last season. We're not City. We're not going to win 16 games in a row. So let's not even pretend that. We have to be stride for stride with them.
100%. And this is the thing. As if you're in with a shout, as I'm going to say again, 3 games to go, 2 games to go, however many games left, and you're still in there, then you've shown that you've gone toe to toe with these guys. And then it's all about, do you have the mentality and the will of just the will to get over the line? And if you can do that, great. That's amazing. But the minimum is to get yourself in a position where you can win a title or win a Champions League or win an FA Cup, whatever it is. Right? If you can win something, if you want to get in a position to win something, you've actually done something that season. If you're not even in a position to win something, and you're just sort of just like, okay, we're in third, like the Chelsea 21-22 season where they just came third. Obviously, they won the champs, but they came third, and it was just like nothing happened.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the kind of just like, I don't want that season. But yeah, I'm gonna go watch some Champions League. I'm sure you have stuff to do as well. Thank you for coming on.
No problem. I enjoyed it. I'm always, as I say, when I'm free, I'm always happy to.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, his name is James. You can find him at AFC James, as I'm sure you know. No Ratings Podcast. You can find me there sometimes as well. And then we just follow the guys at CK Football, at George V _AFC, at the Twitter at BOP Footy. Subscribe here at Board of a Passion. My name's Karen. I hope you've had a nice time. And his hands up again, but not to actually pause the video this time. We'll see you later in a bit.